Hello and welcome to another video on my channel, The Money Passport. As a digital nomad, I normally stay in one place for at least a month, but mostly longer, as I simply also get to need work done. For various reasons, I decided to work a bit less and travel a bit more this summer. But being conscious as always about making and spending money, I want to know how much more money I'm actually spending and how much my productivity is being affected by this. Since I'll be traveling through Romania for 1 month, I thought it would be a good idea to track every single expense, so I can measure exactly how much a month of travel costs and compare this with my cost of living when staying in one place, like I did before when staying in Porto. By the way, I'll make sure to put a link to this video in the description in case you haven't seen this video yet. I'm currently in Timișoara, and that's the third biggest city of Romania. It's nicknamed Little Vienna for its architecture and also the city of flowers for its many parks and green areas like this Roses Park behind me. I'll be here for 1 week, so in this video I'll be sharing exactly how much and on what I spent my money on throughout the entire week. So in the end I can calculate my exact cost of living of 1 week in Timișoara. Just so you're aware, the local currency of Romania is the leu, and €1 is just under 5 lei. Before I show you my apartment, let's first do some grocery shopping because my fridge is still empty. During my first shopping trip, I spent just over 100 lei for some basic items for the first few days. Since I'm staying in Timișoara for an entire week and I'm still not really on vacation, I rented an apartment so I can do my own thing. I mostly work from home and cook my own meals, but of course I also want to make time to explore the city, enjoy the nice weather and taste some of the local cuisine. The apartment is located very close to the old town center. From the outside it's just an ugly concrete flat, but the inside is actually decent and nice enough to spend a week. Right next to the entrance is the bathroom. From the small entrance hall you get right into the main room, where a big bed is located centrally. There is a TV, air conditioning and the Wi-Fi is good, which is of course the most important when working from home. There's a tiny kitchenette with a fridge freezer, a stove, a kettle, a microwave, so I can make some food and don't always have to eat out. Lastly, there's a small area which I don't even know how to call. It looks like a balcony, but since it's enclosed by windows on both sides, it might even rather be a patio. But anyway, it's a nice place with a view and it gives you a feeling of being outside. So this is where I work most of the time. I found and booked the apartment on booking.com and paid 833 lei for the entire week. So it's a nice apartment and I'm happy to stay here for 1 week. I wouldn't stay here for much longer, like a month or something, because this apartment also lacks a few things. First of all, the kitchen doesn't have an oven, which is not a problem if you want to cook just a few days. But yeah, long term, I would definitely miss that. The other thing it's missing is, apart from the patio, there is no seating area. There's no couch. Yeah, I can only watch TV from the bed. So that's something I miss. And maybe more crucial is that there is no washing machine. It's actually my mistake. I thought that there was one, but apparently there's not. So for 1 week it's not a problem, but because of my onward travel plans, I had to do a little bit of laundry, which I had to do by hand. It's not a big deal, just a few items. But for a longer period in one apartment without a washing machine, it's a no-go for me. Now in this video I also want to paint a realistic picture of my life as a digital nomad. As I know, mostly you see people on YouTube and other social media in their best moments, as we all know that life is not always rainbows and butterflies. So let's talk about a major setback and dilemma I faced. After coming back from Albania, I spent 2 weeks in the Netherlands to see my family and friends, which was really great. But on the last day, I badly injured my foot. I was having a great time watching some live music with my friends until I felt something crack in my foot. I didn't know exactly what happened, but after that I could barely walk at all. And of course this had to happen on the night before I was supposed to start traveling again. So what do? See a doctor? Get sent to the hospital for an x-ray, spend my time in waiting rooms and miss my flight? I had my entire summer planned and booked, so this could have been a major blow to my entire plan. Luckily there was not that much to see on my foot, other than a bit of swelling and the pain. So I made a judgment call and went on to catch my flight. Total of 3 flights and 2 days of traveling later, I started to worry a bit more because some bruises started to develop and the pain became more heavy. People even started asking me if I was okay when they saw me stumbling around the airports. But luckily I did make it all the way to Timișoara after all. Of course the first few days are always the worst and the traveling obviously didn't help either. But I still had no clue of what was actually wrong, and Dr. Google comes up with way too many options to make sense of it. A foot has so many bones, and each and every injury or fraction has its own implications, from simple self-healing to a cast or even surgery with pins and a recovery of many months. You can imagine that I realized that I was being stubborn. I was a bit in denial, but also in panic at the same time. In the very worst case scenario, I would have maybe had to cancel my entire summer. So in the end, I decided to finally see a doctor in Romania. I went to the emergency department of the nearest public hospital, and after a first inspection, they took some x-rays of my foot. Luckily, nothing was broken, which was a big relief. The doctor prescribed me some cream and pills, which cost me 208 lei at the pharmacy, and for the rest I should give my foot some rest. Emergency services are free in Romania, so I didn't have to pay anything at the hospital itself. I just wanted to share this experience, as I know this could happen to anyone. The whole timing was bad, but I'm really glad I didn't cancel my trip, and I realized that an injury could happen anywhere at any time, so you just need to be prepared and find your way. While still walking very difficultly, I picked up some more items from the grocery store for 93 lei on my way home. After giving my foot some rest while working from home on day 3, I felt the urge to get out and see how far I could make it with my food. I went to the local Timișoara brewery, which has a restaurant with some traditional food I wanted to try, and of course I'd like to taste some local beer directly from the brewery. I ordered 2 different beers and a typical Romanian platter, with different types of meat, an egg and polenta for 59 lei. I still had to walk back, so to give my foot some rest again, I made a stop at a local brew pub on my way home, where I had a craft beer for 16 lei. The 4th day is the only day I actually didn't leave the house at all. I wanted to give my foot some more rest, and I had a lot of work to catch up on, and of course I also had to create my investment portfolio update for May, which you can also find on my YouTube channel. I still had enough food at home, so I didn't spend anything that day. On day 5, my foot felt a lot better already, so I only worked from home for about 2 hours in the morning and spent the rest of the day discovering the city. Timișoara has just over 300,000 inhabitants, so it's not a huge city and everything is pretty much at a walkable distance. It's actually a much nicer city than I expected, and it is full of historic buildings with a beautiful architecture. The city is also going to be the next European capital of culture in 2023. Despite my injury, I managed to walk a lot, but in order not to push it too much, I made several stops during the day. My first stop was at a restaurant at the river, where I had a milkshake and some water, on which I spent 36 lei. Later I made a stop for lunch. I had a pork neck with fries, some salad and 2 drinks for 63 lei. After more walking in the heat, I made another stop at Unirii Square, where I had 2 beers for 30 lei. On my way home, I picked up a few things from a supermarket for 46 lei, and had dinner at home. The 6th day started as usual by working from home. Halfway the afternoon I went out again for a stroll in the city. I forgot my water bottle, so I quickly went into a store to buy some water for 4 lei, as it was a really hot day. I walked through some parks and went to a tiny museum called the Communist Consumer Museum. Entrance was free, but it was not much more than a cellar stocked full of household items from the communist times, but it was interesting to see anyway. For dinner I wanted to try some more of the local cuisine. At first I was served some bread with chicken liver pâté on the house. As a starter I had the tripe soup, which was surprisingly delicious and not at all what I expected from eating cow stomach. As a main I had a bean stew with pork and some pickled cabbage on the side. I had my laptop with me, so I decided to stay a bit longer to do some work. I ended up tasting a total of 3 different local beers, and for all this I spent 128 lei. On the 7th and last day I worked from home during the morning. Then I stretched my legs for a final stroll around the city and decided to have some street food for lunch. I had a pleškevica, which is a mixed meat patty in a bread, so it's some sort of a burger. Pleškevica is originally from Serbia, but it's also popular here as Timișoara is not that far from the Serbian border. So why go to McDonald's if you can have this instead? After that I sat down for a craft beer at a terrace for the last time, on which I spent 15.5 lei. Then I picked up some groceries for 34 lei and went back home to work a bit more, packed my luggage, and I had dinner at home. So now let's add up how much I'd spent in total during my week in Timișoara. I already mentioned that the apartment was 833 lei. On groceries I spent a total of 282 lei. I spent almost the same amount on eating and drinking out, about 360. And the incidental medical costs were just over 200. So I didn't spend anything on activities or entrance fees. So I treated the city actually more as one big free open air museum. I also didn't have to spend anything on transportation since everything in Timișoara is more or less on a walkable distance if you're staying centrally like I did. I also didn't include any of the costs of coming to Timișoara and going to my next destination, as I don't believe that has anything to do with the cost of living here. So in total I spent about 1683 lei, which is about 340 euros for 1 week in Timișoara. Since I will spend a full month in Romania, I will continue to keep track of my everyday spending, so make sure to subscribe to my channel and watch out for more content related to this. And please don't forget to give this video a like, and I'll see you in the next update. Bye bye!